lost to time. Others are stolen and never found again. Buried in deserts, walled behind concrete, or hidden in offshore vaults, these fortunes were once the glittering rewards of master criminals who pulled off the impossible, then vanished. Police caught the thieves. Courts passed judgment. But the money, art, gold, they simply disappeared, evaporating into legend. From gangsters who died poor while sitting on millions, to hijackers who vanished midair with bags of cash, these are the buried fortunes that prove the ultimate heist isn't stealing the loot, it's keeping it hidden forever. Let's open the vault and see what's still missing. It began with a false signal in the night. A Royal Mail train from Glasgow slowed to a halt and 15 men moved in. Bruce Reynolds and his gang stole £2.6 million, a mountain of used notes worth over £50 million today. They hid out on a farm, counting cash and playing cards as the country erupted in disbelief. But the money didn't last. Police raids recovered only fragments. Some villagers whispered that the gang had buried sacks of cash in nearby woods, while others claimed the money was laundered through black market channels. Even decades later, detectives admitted £500,000 simply vanished. Maybe it's still out there, sealed in the English soil, waiting for someone with a shovel and a little audacity. Valerio Vichei looked more like a playboy than a criminal. Designer suits, Italian accent, Ferrari Testarossa, pure charisma. But behind the charm was a ruthless planner. In 1987, posing as a wealthy client, Vichei entered London's Knightsbridge Safe Deposit Centre, overpowered the guards, and opened 127 boxes, walking away with £60 million in cash, gold, and jewels. He escaped to South America, living a life of luxury. But greed pulled him back. He returned to the UK to retrieve his beloved Ferrari and was arrested instantly. Police found less than £1 million. The rest? Gone. Experts believe it was moved through criminal networks in Italy and Latin America within days. Vichei later wrote from prison, "I regret nothing. The world rewards courage, even when it's illegal." Somewhere, his courage is still glittering, buried in gold bars that have never seen daylight again. It was supposed to be the perfect score. $5.875 million in cash and jewels from the Lufthansa cargo terminal at JFK Airport. Jimmy Burke, Jimmy the Gent, pulled the strings. The crew hit the vault with military precision. But when the FBI closed in, the money was nowhere. Burke panicked. He started eliminating everyone involved, one body after another. Witnesses disappeared. The cash was laundered, hidden, burned, or simply spent. Henry Hill, the mobster who later turned informant, summed it up. Jimmy was killing everybody who had anything to do with the robbery. The cash never re-emerged. Not a single bundle. Goodfellas immortalized the heist, but the real treasure remains buried, somewhere between mob graves and mafia myths. Amid the chaos of the Lebanese Civil War, a small militia pulled off one of the boldest heists in history. They blasted through the wall of the British Bank of the Middle East in Beirut from a neighboring Catholic church. Once inside, locksmiths worked for 3 days, cracking open vaults while gunfire echoed outside. The haul? Up to $50 million in gold bars, currency, and jewels, worth over $260 million today. No one was ever charged. The gold vanished into war zones, black markets, and political funding networks. For decades, treasure hunters have speculated that some of the gold remains buried beneath Beirut's reconstructed skyline, a silent legacy of war's perfect cover for crime. It was St. Patrick's Day in Boston when 2 men dressed as police officers entered the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. They tied up the guards, ripped 13 masterpieces off the walls, Rembrandt, Vermeer, Degas, and disappeared into the night. Estimated value today? over $500 million. The FBI believes it knows who did it, members of Boston's organized crime underworld. But the art has never resurfaced. The museum still displays empty frames, waiting for their return. One FBI agent called it a crime of patience. They took them to wait, not to sell. 3 decades later, the masterpieces are more myth than memory. Somewhere, in a climate-controlled room or behind a false wall, Rembrandt's Storm on the Sea of Galilee is still gathering dust. The Antwerp Diamond Center's vault was thought to be impenetrable, with 10 layers of security, from infrared sensors to magnetic fields. But Leonardo Notarbartolo and his team, the School of Turin, thought otherwise. They spent years studying guard patterns, surveillance blind spots, and vault mechanics. Then, in 2003, they struck, vanishing with more than $100 million in diamonds and gold. The police found no alarms tripped, no forced entry, only a half-eaten salami sandwich outside the complex. DNA on that sandwich is tied back to Notarbartolo. He claimed the haul was exaggerated, a lesson to the insurance companies. But the missing gems tell another story, glittering proof that the perfect crime can still outshine the truth. In Fortaleza, Brazil, residents thought a new landscaping business was opening on their street. The workers smiled, delivered turf, and hauled soil every day. What they didn't see was the 78-meter tunnel being dug beneath their feet. After 3 months of digging, the thieves broke into the Banco Central vault and stole 164 million reais dollars, around 70 million USD at the time. The hole was reinforced with wood and lit by electric lights. Inside, the vault floor was cut cleanly open, not a single alarm triggered. Police called it a crime of extraordinary ingenuity. Yet even after arresting several suspects, they recovered less than 15% of the money. The rest is gone, perhaps hidden beneath Brazil's soil, where turf once grew. November 24, 1971. A man calling himself Dan Cooper boarded a flight from Portland to Seattle, carrying a briefcase. Mid-flight, he revealed a bomb, demanded $200,000 and 4 parachutes, and then, somewhere over Washington state, he jumped into a stormy night. He was never seen again. For decades, the FBI searched mountains, rivers, and forests. Nothing. Only in 1980 did a young boy discover $5,800 of decayed bills buried along the Columbia River, confirmed to be part of the ransom. The rest remains missing. Did Cooper die in the fall? Did he land safely, hide the money, and disappear? No one knows. But his legend lives on, a ghost with a parachute and $200,000 still whispering in the wind. Victor Girino wasn't a mobster or a mastermind, just a mild-mannered Wells Fargo employee. But one night in 1983, he tied up his coworkers, loaded $7 million into a van, and vanished. The money, equivalent to $21 million today, became one of the largest unrecovered cash robberies in U.S. history. The FBI believes Girino was smuggled to Cuba, aided by a Puerto Rican independence group known as Los Macheteros. He's still on the FBI's most wanted list. Decades later, not a single dollar has surfaced. Rumors persist that the cash was used to fund political movements, but much may still lie hidden in Caribbean banks, disguised under decades of false names. Girino once said in a recorded message, "I did it for the cause." Maybe. But it's hard not to wonder if the real cause was a life beyond the law, and a fortune no one could touch. Some fortunes aren't stolen once, they're laundered for a lifetime. Meyer Lansky, the legendary mob accountant, controlled a financial empire that stretched from Las Vegas to Cuba to Switzerland. He never pointed a gun, but his pencil could move millions. At his peak in the 1960s, Lansky's wealth was estimated at $300 million. billions today. Yet, when he died in 1983, his official estate was worth less than $100,000. The FBI spent decades chasing the missing money, tracing shell companies in the Bahamas, Swiss banks, and offshore trusts. But the core fortune was never found. Lansky once smirked to a friend, "I've been lucky. I have friends who look after things." Those friends may still be watching over vaults that hold the mob's ghost fortune. The ultimate example of a crime that outlived the criminal. Across continents and decades, these stories share one haunting truth. The criminals are gone, but their treasures remain. Half a century after the Great Train Robbery, money still sleeps somewhere in the English countryside. Art worth $500 million remains hostage in a mystery vault. Millions in cash and gold lie buried, melted, or hidden behind false names in quiet banks. The law can catch a thief. It can even rewrite history. But sometimes, the loot wins. As long as greed exists, and as long as someone believes they can outsmart the world, there will always be another fortune waiting to be found.